we go. So here's what I've got in mind for us today, and I'm really excited for this class. Especially when I have a few weeks between being able to be with you all, I get this like buildup of like, I want to share this with them, and I want to share that. So what I'm planning today is what might be kind of like the chicken soup of my kind of yoga loves. And I want to put a little bit of the parsley and the carrots and the potatoes and like, oh, there's that in the fridge and there's this in the spice rack. So I have a lot of different pieces that for me are about like creating the mosaic of all of the little pieces that come together that create the big picture of a practice. And whether that's the connecting to the breath, whether that's connecting to the movement or softening through the joints of the body, we're going to get a little bit of everything in today. And so there's this quote that I had come across. I had taken this photo this week that was really this panoramic of the big view, and I was looking for some quote that matched it. And the quote was really what I just said. It's always the small pieces that make the big picture. And that feeling of like, it's not that the change happens all at once. The transformation is, as we've been speaking about here in our kind of greeting of each other, it's not that the change in our yoga practice occurs all at once. It occurs over time and through the accumulated experiences of all of those small pieces. And within a single practice, it's not that any one posture, any one breath practice is the transformational element. It's the accumulation of all of those small pieces that in the end create a feeling at the end of our practice where we can sense more freedom, more openness, more connection, more wholeness. And I want to accompany this idea of this kind of mosaic of our class and all of these added little parts to it that create the whole with a poem that I found yesterday. The poem is called Found. And the poem that I discovered yesterday that really touched me as well. And I think it's apropos to the experience in our world right now where we're up against a lot of kind of edges on what's the point of all of this, like the futility that all of us can bump into, the despair that all of us can bump into in a world that can feel really messed up sometimes. And like, how do we keep moving forward and what is it that we're looking for? So the poet's name is Frederick Buechner. I looked him up after I found his poem and learned a little bit more about him. He's a theologian, I'm pronouncing that name right, and a writer. And so here's what he says about this, this process of this life found. Maybe it's all utterly meaningless. Maybe it's all unutterably meaningful. If you want to know which, pay attention to what it means to be truly human. In a world that half the time we're in love with and half the time scares the hell out of us. The unexpected sound of your name on somebody's lips, the good dream, the strange coincidence, the moment that brings tears to your eyes, the person who brings life to your life. Even the smallest events hold the greatest clues. In a world that half the time we're in love with and half the time scares the hell out of us, the unexpected sound of your name on somebody's lips, the good dream, the strange coincidence, the moment that brings tears to your eyes, the person who brings life to your life. Even the smallest events hold the greatest clues. So together, let's come into practice. And my invitation in this transition is to take a moment and just sense what you're bringing into your practice, what you're arriving with on your mat. I will name on this front end that we'll have a little bit of a knee down lunge today, a little cushion for under your knee. I think blocks are generally helpful, but they're particularly helpful for today's practice. So if you want to take a moment and just have those nearby, that might be wise. And otherwise, once you're ready to drop in, taking a moment and see what you're bringing with you. Remembering that all that is true for you, all that is authentic, is fully welcome here. There's nothing within yourself, mind, body, emotions that needs to be left outside of this space. Perhaps the only thing that you might consciously set aside are the things that we have no control over. The worries about what is happening in this crazy world. Perhaps temporarily allowing yourself to set that out of the space so that you can be with what is in your domain. What's resonating and moving internally, the joy and the pain of that. And with the awareness of what you're bringing into this space, perhaps setting an intention for what you would like out of your practice. Sometimes we think that the intention must be a set of words or a thought, but perhaps even the intention is a felt sense. It's a reconnection. It's an experience inside. And I'll invite you for a moment to bring your hands together and just rub them back and forth, just getting some warmth into your palms. Allowing yourself to feel the presence of your own aliveness through this subtle movement. And then bringing your hands to your face. Maybe you feel a little lingering tingling in your palms. And you can begin to just sweep your hands from your forehead out to your ears, across your cheeks, across your chin and jawline, maybe at the top of your head, down to your neck, perhaps even bringing your hands to the back of the neck in a gentle massage. One of my favorites is to roll the earlobes for a moment between your thumb and your first finger, just a little bit of waking up in the ears. We have all of these sensory receptors in our earlobes. Sometimes we forget how good that one can feel. And then hands to shoulders, to opposite hands, just a few times, feeling like a little hug of yourself. And then palm to palm. Sweeping your hands from your throat down to your belly. And reaching around between your lower ribs down to your hips. You might even take your hands down your legs to your feet. Just a few times, kind of waking up your skin, feeling where you begin and end in space. And then we'll come back either hand over your heart or palm to palm in front of your heart, whichever feels natural, whichever brings you home to yourself. And together I'll invite an Om for today, finding an inhale. We'll start, just exhale, letting it go. Inhaling here for Om. Bowing into your practice as we begin. And before we shift over onto the mat, or I shift over onto my mat, I want to do one more beginning practice here, which is a brief round of alternate nostril pranayama. This is a lovely brain balancing, body balancing practice. We're going to create a Vishnu Mudra with the first two fingers folded, taking the thumb to close off the right nostril as we inhale through the left. Top of the inhale, switching the hand, closing off the left nostril with the ring finger. Breathing out the right. Inhaling right. Switching the hand, closing the right nostril, exhaling left. That's a full cycle. Continue on your own. You switch at the top of the breath. Beautiful. Now continue your breath cycle until you've exhaled out the left nostril. At which point you might let your hand just rest down in your lap. And taking a moment to simply notice. Notice what might have shifted already in just this short practice so far. And we'll continue to stack the beautiful aspects of our yoga practice. This next breath is Adirga Pranayama, and it's a three-part breath or a complete breath. And we'll start by bringing the hands to the belly button, to the navel here. Inhale, allowing your belly to really puff out with the breath. Exhale, drawing navel to spine. And then we're going to add on, inhale into that belly breathing. Inhale into the rib cage. And pausing here, exhale, rib cage draws in. Navel draws back. Now the third part. Inhale into belly. Inhale into ribs. Inhale this time into your chest. Three-part exhale. Chest. Rib cage. Belly. And we'll smooth those parts out. Inhaling belly. Rib cage. Chest. Exhale, chest. Ribs. Belly. Inhale, belly. Inhale, ribs. Inhale to fullness. Exhale, chest. Exhale, ribs. Exhale, belly. Inhale, belly. Inhale, ribs. Inhale, chest to fullness. Pause at the top. Exhale, chest. Exhale, ribs. Exhale, belly. Pause at the bottom. Inhale, let it all go. Just let the breath fill naturally. Once again, sensing and feeling, making space for whatever arises. Beautiful. We will come into some movements together now. Beginning by inhale, just a little sweeping movement with the arms, drawing the hands up, maybe gaze up. Exhale, sweeping the hands back down. Your gaze might even follow down to the earth. And inhale, lifting the gaze to the fingertips. And exhale, sweeping them down. Moving with your breath and movement. One more like that. And then hands to knees. And I'll invite you into some circular movements here. Just allowing the upper body to really rotate around the pelvis. And these circles might be real small. They might be larger. At any point, you might find a little pocket of sensation and pause there, breathe there. And then continue on your way. And then we'll go in the opposite direction. So all of these movements, and in fact, really the whole practice is an invitation to follow your sensations, listen to your body. We're all levels in this practice, so I offer challenges and share variations, some of which will work and some of which you're going to modify and find what works in your body. And all of that's just perfect. There's no better or worse. Good. One more in this direction. And then inhaling up to center, we'll do some seated spinal flexion and extension, a seated cat-cow. So on an exhale, concave through the belly. Inhale, draw your heart forward. You can use your hands on your shins here to help really create that stretch in the spine and a little traction as you exhale back. If it's too much to do this seated cross-legged, having your legs out in front and taking holds behind or in front of the knees. So making this yours, honoring what supports you in your body. And then continuing that movement in your spine, bringing your hands to your shoulders. And inhale, we open the elbows. Maybe this time lift the chin. And exhale, tucking the chin. Elbows can come together in front of the heart. We'll add in another pranayama, another breath practice here. This is lion's breath. And on the exhale, ha, maybe a sound. Stick your tongue out even. It can even be a little fierce. A great opportunity to let something go. Something, someone that doesn't serve you. One more like that. And then inhale, we'll open the hands wide like wings. And exhale, pressing palms together. Inhale, finding freedom. Exhale. Inhale, expand. Exhale, contracting to midline. And then inhale, releasing your hands. And once again, just becoming aware what's changing throughout the practice so far. And let's come into some neck and some side bends. So we're going to take the right ear toward the right shoulder. And pausing here for a moment, you might even take your left fingertips away, just creating a little openness on that left side of your neck. And an invitation to play with the eyes in this one. So you might take your eyes toward your right shoulder to begin. And then explore what it feels like to take your eyes all the way to the left corners of their sockets. So our eyes connect to the suboccipital muscles in the back of the neck and can help release some tension there. And then softening through the eyes, just let them find a neutral position, maybe taking your right hand up and over toward your left ear. We're not yanking on the head, it's just a gentle contact. And then as if you could send your breath into little lungs on the left side of your neck, sending your breath right there. Beautiful. Bringing your head back to center, releasing your hand, and then we're going to slide the right hand down toward the right. So now we're going to get into the whole left side of the spine. You can keep your left hand by your hip, or you might reach your left hand up, or perhaps even overhead. You might gaze down to the front or up. And this is very much your practice. So you might even continue to find some undulation movement up and down through the side body, or curling forward and opening the heart. Eventually, when you're ready, we'll come back to center. And we'll find all of this to the right side of the spine by taking left ear toward your left shoulder. You might stay there, or maybe your right fingertips walk away a little bit. And then we'll explore those eye movements. So taking the eyes toward your left shoulder. Maybe taking the eyes all the way to the right corners of your sockets. Bringing eyes to neutral, and then maybe taking left hand up and around. Breathing into the right side of your neck. This might involve just little subtle movements of your head even. Finding that sweet spot, sending the breath there. Sometimes those sweet spots don't feel so sweet, but it's powerful to send the breath into them. Bringing your head back to neutral. This time we're going to take the left hand to the left, grounding into the right hip. You can lift and lower, undulate the side body. Maybe you take the right arm up overhead. You might gaze down or up. You might even roll the shoulder a little bit. Beautiful, coming right back to center. And we'll add in the spinal series is getting into all of the movements of the spine, sometimes referred to as the 6 directions of the spine: flexion, extension, side body, and twists, which we'll come into now. Inhale, drawing the arms up overhead, and exhale, we're going to twist to the right. Now, twists are very individual, right? Like sometimes they feel good, sometimes it feels cranky in the hips or the mid-spine. So listen to your body, going gently. And you might notice that I'm playing around here, and you can explore this in your body, between gazing back around to my left shoulder and then allowing the twist to rotate my chest. Gaze comes last towards the right shoulder. And you might curl back in and then lengthen back out. Head and gaze might follow. Perhaps one more like that. And then from here, we're going to hook left hand onto that right knee, and we'll free up the right arm. So you might stay right here. This might be plenty, or you might begin to lean left shoulder down towards the left knee. And in this leaning, we're opening into that right side body again, a different angle. You might gaze down, you might rotate and gaze up. Feel this into your experience. Fill your experience with your awareness. And then eventually lifting back up out of this side, we'll come back to neutral. Maybe a few rotations of the shoulders, forward and back. And then inhale, sweeping the arms. Exhale, we're coming around to the left fingertips behind the sacrum, right hand to the knee, and then maybe that little play between gazing back towards the right, maybe even curling a little towards the right, and then unwinding, unfurling the spine, lengthening, and the gaze can come to the left. Exploring whether you want to hold a static twist or a moving twist. Whatever serves your body. And then we'll take that right hand, hook it on the left knee, and either staying here, freeing that left arm, or begin to take a lean over to the right. Exploring how this shape takes hold in your body, what wants to happen next. And eventually lifting back out, unwinding the twist. And then from here, we'll take the legs out in front. I'm going to shift over to the side for this one. And your hands might be facing toward you, or they might be facing back for this next one. Feel out both, see what works in your body. And for this next piece here, we're going to lift and lower into the hips. So you might start just by feeling that lift of the chest, weighting into your hands a little bit. And then we'll inhale here and exhale, lifting the hips. We'll reverse tabletop. You can inhale down and exhale, lift. Moving with your pace and rhythm. Again, we're going for how it feels rather than how it looks. So exploring whether it feels right to keep your chin tucked or to set your head back. That's your body. One more like this. And then setting the hips down. This time I'll invite you to turn the palms kind of out to the sides, maybe a little bend in the elbows, enough to really feel that lift in the chest. And we'll add in another pranayama, another breath practice. This is Kapalabhati breathing. And if it doesn't feel right in your body, don't do it, right? But if you like it, which I certainly do, we're going to snap the belly back on the exhale. The inhale just feels naturally. So it'll look and sound like this. Inhale, nice and deep, feeling that full, complete breath. And exhale, let it go. We're going to come all the way down onto our backs. Once you arrive on your back, here's an invitation to take your arms up overhead. So we're going to be making our way in and out of a bridge pose here. And once you're in bridge, it's wise not to turn your head side to side. So I'll explain this, or if you need to just sit up for a moment and look. The hands are going to be behind your head. You can take one hand and take hold of the opposite wrist and just let that be comfortable. The arms can really just be a resting stance here. And then feet hip width or so apart, feet grounded into the earth, and then we're going to lift the hips and lower them down. So similar to what we did in that reverse tabletop, allowing yourself to feel that rolling up and rolling down this time, the spine. Hopefully there's a quality to this that actually feels good and nourishing. Exploring the range of motion for that to be so. And one more just like that. And then this time we're going to take the soles of the feet right close together, right at midline. We're going to roll the hips up once again, and we're going to lift the right foot off of the mat, sending that right foot up towards the ceiling and taking a moment to really press into that left foot. You might feel the hamstring or the glute muscles shaking just a little bit. That's good. And then we're going to take that right ankle across the left thigh. So a supine figure 4 bridge pose here. Just let your arms rest, let your shoulders go, let your jaw go. Allow the action to be in the legs, pressing into that left foot. The left glute is active. You might open that right knee a little bit more to the side. And then we'll take that right foot to the ceiling and back down to the left foot. Taking a moment, just settling the hips back down. And we'll find side 2. So pressing into the feet, lifting the hips, Grounding into the right foot as you lift the left foot up off the earth, sending left foot towards the ceiling. Releasing any unnecessary tension in the shoulders, your face, your jaw. Maybe feeling that shake in the right leg, and then we'll cross the left ankle over the right, a figure 4 action. You can lower that left knee as you lift to the right hip. Connecting to breath. And then re-lengthen through the left leg. Soften left foot to the earth. Lower both hips down. Widening the feet one more time to hip width, and then just a few lift and lowers here, just evening out through the pelvis. Good, one more like that. And then we'll take the hands behind the head, interlacing hands at the base of the skull. Inhaling here, and exhale, lifting your head and shoulders. Inhale to lower. So now I'll invite you to lift your toes and drag your heels back. So simple action here, but there's a engagement in the hamstrings. It's almost like the legs are doing a hamstring curl at the same time that you're engaging through the low abdominals. You can always shift that exhale out the mouth if you like. Whatever wants to happen naturally. And then lowering down through the upper body, taking the soles of the feet off the floor. We're going to tabletop through the legs and exhale. Inhale to lower, exhale to lift. Good. Last one like that. Lowering the upper body for a moment, sending both feet up towards the ceiling. Now, if you want to stay with legs bent, stay with legs bent. Otherwise, feet flexed, legs toward the ceiling. Same action in the upper body. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. You might even find a slight curling in the tailbone so that the hips even have a little lift off of the earth as the upper body curls in. Beautiful. From here, lowering down, we're going to cross right leg over the left. So we're in eagle legs here. We're in a little Garudasana shape, and then just allowing the upper body to come toward the legs. This time as you exhale or inhale and lower, you're going to extend the feet a little forward. So exhale, crunch everything in. Inhale, send everything in opposite directions. One more on this side. And then we'll switch out the legs. Crossing in the opposite direction. Exhale to center. Inhale, open it up. Good. Last one here. And then lowering it down. This time we'll take a supine figure 4. So we did this in bridge. Now we're on our backs. Right foot over the left thigh. And this time we'll take left elbow toward the right knee, crossing the body. Inhale as we lower. Exhale to lift. Last one here. And then lowering the upper body, let's thread the hands through and take a supine figure 4 hip opener here. So you can take hold behind your left leg, right elbow to the inside of the right thigh. You might find a static hold, or you might move a little bit, exploring the pockets or edges of sensation. And then releasing the hands, we're crossing right thigh over left, those eagle movements again, hands behind the head. Exhale. Inhale, open. Exhale. Shorter set this time, switching the legs, left over right. Exhale to lift. Inhale to open. And then finding a figure 4, crossing left ankle over the right thigh, right elbow towards the left knee. So feeling your way into that core connection, the solar plexus, the inner sun, the strength inside. Last one here. And we'll lower it down, taking hold behind the right leg. And we explore what I refer to as nervous system flexibility, that we can go into very active postures and then into restorative ones immediately following. Letting heart rate lift and settle back. Strengthening our capacity to handle whatever life sends our way. We've got that empowerment inside, and we can come back to a resting state. So releasing the legs here, taking hold behind both the knees and a few rocks on your spine. And eventually rocking up and over your knees, let's come into a tabletop. Taking your time, and once you arrive there, any movements that support you. That might even be taking a sip of some water or whatever you're wanting right now. And then just allow yourself to move in whatever way supports you, integrating the spinal awakening, the core awakening, some of the hips that we've already tapped into. And then from here, a little kind of wag the tail action here. So we're gonna take our gaze around to each side, and then we'll add in the legs in a little movement here. So as I gaze to the left, my right foot lifts and can gaze at your right toe. And as I gaze to the right, my left foot lifts and you can gaze at the left toe, right? So it's back and forth, finding your rhythm. You can even explore kind of giving that side body a little squeeze. So we're alternately squeezing and opening into each side body. The head's involved, the gaze is involved. Good, one more each side. And then coming back to neutral. So I'm gonna face you for this next little series here. From a neutral tabletop, we're going to take that right leg out to the right. So some of you have been practicing with me for some of you many years, like 10 years, right? We're gonna do one that might be familiar for some and new to others. So in this, we're gonna find a little fern frond action. So we're gonna open up the right arm, unwind the hand, and on an exhale, we're going to take that right arm under and through. And we're moving with the breath. Inhale and exhale. You can allow the gaze to follow the fingertips. One more on this side. And exhale, releasing to center. Listen carefully. We're going to walk the hands back, keeping the legs as they are, and then we'll add a little change. So we're going to bend into that right knee, or I'm on the right side. You might be mirroring, and that's all fine. We'll get both sides in. So we're going to take the forearm onto that right leg, and you can either keep that left hand on your hip, or once again, maybe explore bringing that left arm up overhead. And we're going to come in and out of this little lunge shape here. So again, greeting your side body. I call this one the side body bliss shape, right? Just opening and contracting. And then we're going to come up and over to the other side into gate pose. So you can re-lengthen through that right leg. Toes might be forward or to the side. It's up to you. And then we're going to take the right arm up overhead once again. So as we've been exploring all along, you can play around here with your gaze, maybe down or up. And then perhaps you shift your weight into the bottom knee and hand and you lift that right leg. So just exploring that lift, that reach. Maybe we draw knee and elbow together. Inhale, press in opposite directions. Exhale. Inhale, reach. Exhale. One more like that. And then we're bringing knee back down, coming around to the front into tabletop. Just a little bit of a cat-cow between the sides. And we'll switch it out. Left leg to the side. Reaching left arm up, maybe following with the gaze. And exhale underneath the body. Inhale. And returning left hand to the earth. Walking hands up to the legs, lifting through the upper body, bending into that left knee, and the forearm comes down. And then from here, allowing that right arm to come up overhead, exploring in and out of that lunge, greeting the side body again. And then we'll go up and over to the other side, taking right hand down, extending that left leg once again, and bringing the left arm up overhead. A few intuitive breaths here. And then eventually, if you'd like, shifting weight into right hand, right knee, lifting that left foot off the earth, balancing, or maybe finding the side bodies as we draw knee and elbow together. Inhale, expand. Exhale. one more reach. And exhale, foot to the earth, coming back around tabletop, moving it through however you need to. And then when you are ready, we're gonna curl the toes under and begin to walk the hands back. So in this particular variation, the fingertips can come back toward your knees. And allowing yourself to open up through the hands, through the wrists. You can bend the elbows a little bit. It might feel a little uncomfortable. You can settle your hips toward your heels, just greeting your feet in toes pose. We're opening up through the fascia, the connective tissue in the wrists, the hands, the feet, the ankles. And then a little transition here. We're gonna tuck the toes back or come onto the tops of the feet. I'm gonna come off my sheepskin for a moment. And then we're gonna lift the knees. So you're balancing on the fronts of the feet. And some of you might say, no, Ariel, that doesn't happen for me. Okay, so feel into your body. You can keep fingers on the ground. You might hold onto the shins. You might rock a little bit, lifting one knee and then the other. So a little bit of opening through the fronts of the ankles. And we'll come out of that one. Not too long there, right? But it can feel really, really good to open up through the fronts of the feet and ankles, or really uncomfortable, but good for you, huh? All right, we're gonna come up into a variation of camel. So here the hands can go onto the low back or around the buttocks, and then we're just going to move a little bit with the breath. We inhale, open the chest, and exhale, just gazing down. Inhale, we open, maybe you lift the chin, and exhale back out. Inhale, opening through that front body, finding your range of motion. And exhale. Again, finding that lift. Particularly in the throat, we're opening and we're contracting here. Massaging the thyroid and parathyroid glands. Last one. Good. And then we'll bring the hands forward. Tucking the toes once again, and this time just coming into a yogi squat. And this yogi squat, once again, is a exploratory one. So you can rock a little side to side, open one knee and then the other. Just feel how your body wants to take ownership of this somewhat primitive shape. And then eventually walking your hands forward, and we'll make our way into our first downward facing dog. So in our first dog, you can walk the dog. Just let your knees alternately bend. We've been opening through the ankles and the feet, just greeting whatever's present for you there. And then we'll take that walking dog all the way up to the front of the mat. So finding your first forward fold. I'm going to invite you today to practice with feet hip width apart. So nice wide base. Your hands might be on the earth, they might be on blocks. You might like the option of hands to elbow creases, exploring whatever serves you and your practice. And for today's purpose, we're going to do a roll up to standing. So let the head, the shoulders, the arms be heavy, the knees be soft, and just allowing yourself to take a nice slow rolling up, feeling that as a kind of opening through the back body, eventually rolling all the way up to standing, head coming up last. And now that we're here, we're going to find a roll back down. So let the head start this roll. Let your head be heavy. Opening up, breathing into the back of the neck. And then allowing the shoulders to get heavy. Again, your knees can be a little soft here. Let a little bit more of your upper body hang. Using your breath to let go of any unnecessary holding, the face, the jaw. And then as we continue down, a deeper bend into the knees, a deeper bend until it's almost like we're in a standing version of a child's pose with the upper body really resting onto the thighs. And then we'll press into the feet and roll all the way back up. Good. I'm going to show this one facing you for a moment. We're going to do a similar roll down, feet hip widths apart, but this time we're going to gaze toward the right foot. So you might initially feel this on that left side of the neck. And then in your pacing here, letting the upper body be heavy, and we're rolling not to the side, but angled toward the right foot. You can bend the knees. You might feel this a little more on the left side of your low back, your hip. And roll down. And then pressing into the feet and the legs, rolling all the way back up. Head can come up last. Once you arrive at midline, just noticing how you feel this relationship to gravity in this way. And we'll take the second side. So taking your gaze toward your left toes. Knees can be soft. Begin to shift the weight of the upper body toward the left leg, toward the left foot. Noticing right side body. Making your way all the way down. And then pressing into the feet as we roll back up. All the way to center. Beautiful. From here, we'll do a little side body. Again, we got a lot of side bodies today. Side body openers. We're going to take the left wrist with the right hand. And again, I'll encourage that hip widths apart. And then leaning toward the right. So allowing your gaze to come toward the right. Now we are in the side bodies more than that quarter lean. And maybe stay here or maybe step the left foot behind the right. A little curtsy step here. Making this yours. Noticing left shoulder, neck, hips. And then we'll step out of this side. We're going to find side two. We take hold of the right wrist. We're going to lean toward the left. That might be plenty, a beautiful place to stay. Or maybe from here, you step left foot behind the right. Get step out of the way. And a little curtsy step here. Lovely. Coming back up through to center, feet underneath, releasing the hands. Inhale, drawing arms up overhead. This time, exhale, we take a long spine into our forward fold. Maybe when you arrive there, explore a halfway lift, this time maybe lengthening out through the backs of the legs a little bit more. And on an exhale, planting the hands, stepping back to a plank pose. Not here long, maybe just a little roll back and forth on your feet. And then we're going to lower the knees and listen carefully. Rather than a typical knees, chest, chin, I'm going to invite you to really arch your spine, tucking your tailbone, and come forward with that arched spine, allowing the body to come forward. Just notice how that might feel different today. Once we arrive down onto the belly, I'll invite you to come into a Sphinx pose. So in Sphinx, we've got the elbows underneath the shoulders, got our forearms onto the ground. And in today's variation of Sphinx, I'll invite you to tuck your toes under. So the kneecaps can lift. You might even feel the thighs lift off of the earth a little bit. And if Sphinx irritates your low back, really emphasize tucking the tail, even if that means lifting the low back or the hips a little bit off of the earth. So you might not tuck the toes under if that's too much, or this might feel really good. And if you do tuck your toes under, you might even rock just a little bit back and forth on those toes. And then from here, I'll invite you to take your gaze toward your left shoulder. Just a little bit into the neck, the eyes. The eyes can really gaze, almost like you're trying to look at your left foot. And then we'll take the chin, the gaze toward your right shoulder. Eyes might even look toward your, is it the right foot on this time? This side, yeah. Gazing back. And then back to center. So here's a little variation. It may or may not feel good in your body. We're going to keep that right foot as it is. We're going to bend through the left leg. Now, I really like this half frog position, and you can explore what it's like to gaze over your left shoulder. See how this feels in your body. You might even lift up a little bit onto the palms of your hands. It feels to me like a kind of lizard scanning the environment. You can gaze forward and gaze back. Be that little lizard for a moment, and then we'll come back down. Find this on the other side. So my hips have a little twist in them, as many of us do. There's little torques in the hips. So one side might feel really different from the other. Notice this in your body. So I've got my right leg in a half frog. I'm gazing up and around towards my right foot. You might explore lifting on the hands. You might gaze forward and back. And then coming back down to center. So a little different play today, huh? From here, we'll use the hands under the shoulders. Let's press back to Anahatasana, heart opening, puppy dog pose, however you want to call this one. Keeping the hips lifted, letting the chest lower down, your chin or your forehead might come to the mat. And then from here, let's find our way to downward facing dog. So we're making our way quite slowly into these active postures today. And as we arrive here, downward dog number 2, again, a little home base, chance to check in. From this downward dog, I'll invite you to inhale, lifting through your right leg and gazing forward, stepping forward and through, right foot between your hands. So you might need a little assistance to get it there, and that's all fine. You can, again, lift and lower out of that back heel, kind of rolling on the ball of the foot. Eventually, I'll invite you to lower the right knee, the left knee down. And then we're going to shift the hips back and forward. We'll do that again. Really reach your tail feathers back and then lunge forward. And then in this forward lunge, just breathing into that left hip flexor, exploring what this side wants you to know. And then we're going to shift the hips back again. We're going to stay here for a few breaths. You can flex into that right foot, Ardha Hanumanasana, or it's really breathing into the hamstring of the right leg. You can imagine here that you're trying to hook your chin over your right toes, really reaching the spine long, and then maybe folding in. And then we'll shift the weight forward once again, this time hands to the inside of that right leg, right? So we're on the inside here. And then from that shape, allowing yourself to walk that right foot a little bit wider. The right toes might even point out toward the side a little bit. And then you can take your right hand on top of the right leg, allowing yourself to breathe away, maybe again gazing back over that right shoulder. Maybe you bend through the right foot, the right leg, knee. Maybe you take hold. None of these are shoulds, they're all exploratory. Allowing yourself to breathe and open. And then exhale, release. Allowing right knee to come back to meet the left and pressing back once again, downward facing dog. From this downward dog, we're gonna step the left foot forward. We'll inhale to lift the left leg, gazing forward, stepping through, and then a few rocks here on that back foot. Eventually rocking that knee down to the earth. And we can shift the hips back and forward. Allowing those tail feathers to open. And then we'll pause in the front lunge here, breathing into the right hip flexor. Eventually, we'll send the hips back once again. We'll pause there. You can flex into the right foot and maybe even a little undulation of the spine as you reach it long and fold in. Lovely. We'll shift back forward, both hands to the inside of that front leg, and you can toe heel that left foot out to the side. You can stay right here, or maybe you take left hand toward your left thigh. Maybe you gaze back, and a little twist in this dragon lunge. Maybe you reach the dragon tail up or reach around and take hold of it. So no right or wrong, opening the heart, the side body. Gaze can come back if you like. If you're not grabbing the foot, just intending in that direction, right? And then eventually back to the front, sending left knee back and downward facing dog. So this next little transition is a playful one, and some of you might say it's not the kind of play that I want to do today. That's okay. It's just an invitation. And this invitation is a pouncing action. So we're going to bend into the knees. We're going to gaze forward. And the pounce is like a tiger going after what it wants here, right? So you're going to pounce your feet to the front of the mat. It's a little hop, right? It might be a little hop, or you might get a little hang time up there. The pounce can be actually sending your sacrum up and over your shoulders, like that, right? And then setting the feet down. Just play with me. It's all good, right? If I get a little laughter out of you, I've done a good job today. So we don't have to take yoga so seriously. Let's do it one more time. Downward dog, setting your sight on where you want to land, feeling that potential energy in the legs, and then forward we go. All right, however you get to the front of your mat, walking, crawling, all welcome here. Inhale, let's find a halfway lift and a forward fold. Feet are going to be wide again, right? Nice hip width little stance here. And we're going to find our way into a squat. So knees bent And that same position we've been playing with, taking hold of left wrist with the right hand. Good. Breathing into the shoulders, into the legs. Maybe your heart rate's going from that little pounce. And then we're going to take it into a twist. Left elbow outside of the right leg. So we're in a wide stance. This twist might feel different than other twists. All good. Maybe your gaze follows, pressing palm into palm. Maybe gaze lifts. And then let's unwind it. We're going to find the opposite grip. Left hand, right wrist. You can pull the hands a little apart from each other. A little shake in the arms, in the legs, in the chest. And then let's take the twist the other way. Palm to palm, right elbow to the outside of the left leg. It's a sneaky little series, huh? It gets challenging on an unexpected time. Let yourself greet the challenge. We're not here very long. Unwind it, lengthening through both arms. Exhale, sweep the hands back. Inhale, lengthen through both legs. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to a halfway lift. And exhale your way to downward dog. Step back, hop back, crawl back, whatever you like. Maybe a vinyasa through, maybe not. And from our downward dog, we're gonna step the right foot forward, excuse me, and find our way into pyramid. So in pyramid, we're not in our widest stance. We're in a bit of a shorter stance, and this is where blocks can really come in handy. So we're working towards lengthening both legs. You might work with lengthening through the spine first. So we started with that Ardha Hanumanasana, that hamstring opener with the knee down. It's very similar here. And you might lengthen the spine and begin to fold in. Moving with the breath. And from here, we're going to step the left foot a little further back. So now we're in a wider stance. And I like the block for this transition. We're going to place right hand on the block and lengthen through the right leg. So we're in a Trikanasana shape in the legs. And then we're going to rebend and lengthen out. Rebend, finding your way into this shape. You can bend it, stay there, maybe reach that left arm up overhead, extended side angle. And then lengthen through the leg, lifting arm up overhead, full Trikanasana. Maybe your gaze comes up toward the left fingertips. And you might explore in this shape, just rotating the left arm a few times. Maybe your gaze follows. And then reaching the arm, lift, lift, lift. And we'll bend into the right knee for a transition all the way up to standing. So here we're in a 5-pointed star. Get that block out of the way. And just allow yourself to feel that reach. And on an exhale, we'll find a forward fold. So toes can be facing forward, a little knee bend if you like. And folding down to center. From this shape, you might inhale halfway and exhale. Moving with the breath. And eventually we're going to turn over the left leg. So we're just continuing to turn on the mat. And you can bring that block with you. You can shorten your stance and find your way into pyramid on side 2. So allowing yourself to make your way in. You might even bend the knees a little bit as you explore finding your way into this shape. You can find that undulation through the spine. Breathing in whatever way supports you here. And eventually finding that halfway lift, lengthening out through your stance. You can use your block here if you'd like. And we'll open this up, bending into the knee, lengthening the leg. Hips are now facing forward instead of down with pyramid, right? And then maybe taking the arm up overhead, finding extended side angle from the ground up. Maybe shifting into Trikanasana, triangle pose, lengthening through the leg. Your gaze can come up, forward or down. Maybe rotate the arm a few times. Pause and triangle. And then rebending into the left knee as this sends you back up. Prasarita, second time, this time interlacing hands behind your back, drawing knuckles down, and a forward fold with the hands clasped, drawing the head down and the arms up overhead, opening through the shoulder girdle, shaking the head. Any faces you want to make, scrunching your face, opening it wide, sticking out your tongue. Let something go. And slowly soften your arms down to the earth, finding a halfway lift. Inhale. And exhale, turning back to the front of your mat, stepping right foot back to meet the left. And exhaling all the way to the earth, maybe knees, maybe curling tailbone under as you make that transition. One final challenge for our flow today is coming into bow pose, and I'll give options. You can find your way into a cobra or a sphinx again, or maybe sending your arms back, maybe lifting through your legs, finding a locust, a beautiful place to stay, or perhaps bending your knees, taking hold of your ankles, and then kicking your shins into your hands to open across the front of your heart. Your breath, your body. Greeting challenge, knowing how to rise up. And on an exhale, letting it all go, releasing the feet, resting your forehead onto your hands, maybe rocking your hips side to side. And for today's purpose, we'll just simply roll right over onto our backs. Once you arrive there, drawing both knees into your chest, wrapping your arms around your shins, and checking in. Is there anything that we didn't get to that you need for your practice? Any final shapes, movements, sighs, yawns, honoring how your body needs to complete this mosaic of postures and breath. And when you feel complete, making your way into final resting posture, Shavasana. Softening legs long, rolling shoulders underneath and rotating palms to the ceiling. Scanning your body once you've arrived in this resting shape and observing for any tension that's unnecessary, any holding or resisting against gravity. And using your breath and awareness to soften, to arrive deeply, fully into this receptive mode, receiving your practice, all of the benefits, nourishing all of your cells. Remember, it's always the small pieces that make the big picture. It's these accumulations of all of these small practices that create the yoga practice, that create the meaningful change. I'll offer these words once again, found by Friedrich Buechner. Maybe it's all utterly meaningless. Maybe it's all unutterably meaningful. If you want to know which, pay attention to what it means to be truly human in a world that half the time we're in love with and half the time scares the hell out of us. The unexpected sound of your name on somebody's lips. The good dream. The strange coincidence. The moment that brings tears to your eyes. The person who brings life to your life. Even the smallest events hold the greatest clues. Now you are always welcome to stay in Shavasana. Let this be a lingering, long, nourishing space just to rest and be supported by the earth. And for those of you that are needing to or are ready to transition back into the rest of your day, taking your time to roll onto your side, greeting yourself in a fetal position, a symbolic rebirth, and then slowly, mindfully transitioning back up to sitting. Close this practice just briefly before we end sharing, just a brief share here together of gratitude of all of those accumulated gifts and letting yourself be part of this mosaic that we have created in this community together. I am so grateful to all of you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.